Hi everyone, I'm Valérie Daignault, Director of the Secretariat of the Audiovisual Cluster at the Quebec Film and Television Council. The QFTC is really pleased to take part in this panel of women leaders in tech for VFX and animation. We've worked since the last year on the Release Your Creativity project, who has been developed in collaboration with the NAD UCAC School to develop innovative solutions to the current labor shortage by offering a leadership training program for women artists, mentoring junior talents, and by a complete programmation on wellness workshop and podcast. This program could not be been possible without the support of the City of Montreal and our partners, Caribara, Dineg, Framestore, Method Studios, RealFX, and Technicolor, including their three brands, Micros, MPC, and Mr. X. But with further ado, please let me introduce you to our panelists today, Ms. Marie-Claude Lafontaine, VFX producer at Alchemy 24, Stéphanie Roy, CG supervisor at Cinesite, Christine New, FX supervisor at Dineg. So today we're going to talk about your career. Why did you choose this industry? How did you take your place as a leader in your studio? And tips and tricks on what you can give to our audience to be their own leader in the work. So my first question for you is, can you tell us a little bit more about your story? How did you get into the VFX industry? And did you always want to work in this field? So I'm going to begin with you, Stephanie, please.
Hey. Hi everyone. So basically, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an horror movie director. So I went in film school, and in film school, I basically learned that my favorite director was actually, like, he started his career in VFX. So basically, I did research, and then I found out a university that was doing animation and VFX classes. So I started in that, and then I freaked out for the first 2 years because everyone was so good. And like, I used to be like the most creative person in my circle of friends and family, but like everyone was so damn good. It was ridiculous. So the third year I found out rigging. That was more logic. It's working or it's not working. I went into that, and thank God, because there was not like that many people that wanted to do that. So I managed my way to get into a studio, and it's been 8 years now. I've moved from artist to lead to CG supervisor.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Marie-Claude, what about you?
Oh, I have a different, parkour, if you want. I started in anatomy and cell biology, so I was not really in this field, and then I didn't like it, and ended up wanting to do prosthetic work for films. But because you need contact, and I didn't have any, I went into 3D animation instead, and the VFX world. So I started a little program which got me to start as a compositing artist. And then at the studio I'm currently, Alchemy 24, I started there as a compositor, and then I just slowly, started to take on some managerial work. So I started as a coordinator, and then, moved to line producer, and now I'm a producer. So wow. different line, different direction.
And for you, Christine?
Oh, my career has been very different. My studies, I went to school in engineering and architecture. So to kind of like the art and tech side of everything, which kind of explains how I got into effects. It's kind of using technology to make artistical imagery. I started actually out in the feature animation side of effects and ventured into visual effects. By the time I moved out to Montreal, that's kind of where I started progressing my leadership path. I found I was really into more the mentorship side of the work, and so that kind of brought me into the leadership roles I'm in right now.
Wow, so we can see that there's a lot of different worker, as you were saying, Marie-Claude, to arrive in this industry and to come and work. You can have more like a structural approach, or more a creative side, and I think that there's there's different knowledge and Parker that you can have to come in our industry. And I want to hear a little bit more on what do you love or like the most in your job, and working in the VFX and animation industry. So Stephanie.
I've worked in both animation and VFX, and honestly, my heart it's with animation, just because like it's a bigger, usually it's like 1 year to 2 years that you're doing a movie, and it's just like, to me, it's so incredible to see the amount of like passionate people that you can aim in the same direction for that amount of time. Like it's just so cool to see like that. It's kind of like your baby at the end, and like you all feel like a big family. Like that sounds weird, but that's literally that. Like, yeah, to me, that's my favorite part, and that's making sure that all the artists, they really do feel like we couldn't have made that movie without you.
Mm-hmm. And Christine?
Oh, I love the collaborative efforts, just like Stephanie had mentioned. It's also every day is a new challenge. We've gone through so many projects, and the same type of work that we do we come across a different challenge every time. It's not always the same thing, and that makes it really interesting. Everything's there's always problem solving, and that's what I like about what I'm doing. Yeah, it's all the collaborative side is really great, because you could just pick people's brains about how to do stuff. Everyone's great. Everyone's smart about what they do.
So like every day is a new day.
Every day is a new adventure. For sure.
Yeah. And Marie-Claude?
I'm more in the management side, so I don't create. And what I love about my job is I see all our artists create what they create, and then we end up making the client side or the image or the idea that they have come to life. And it's just so nice with all the new technologies that we have, and all these. It's just from, I've been in the industry for 6 years, and since the 6 years, there's so many new technologies, and it's just mind-blowing that, for example, some tracking will be able to, there's some AI that's being used to be able to do that. So the new technology is really what I love about our job.
And we're here today to talk about leadership. So I want to know a little bit more on how you get the progression to become a leader in your field, and what would you say are the essential values to be a good leader? Stephanie?
I kind of sneaked in that position, actually. Like, someone asked my company, and I was like, that's my goal. Like, let's do it now. So I sneaked in, and at the beginning it was quite a struggle, because like I had 3 years of experience, I think. So like my production and my company were like, oh, I'm not sure you're ready and things. But I knew what kind of leader I wanted. So I tried to become that leader for the people in my team. And they super quickly supported me. So at some point, this company couldn't say no, because all the team was behind me. And yeah, to me, like, there's two fundamental things that you need to do to be a good leader. The first one is to not be like a dictator, but like you're supposed to be the voice of your team. So of course, at some point you will need to actually make a decision that might not be nice for everyone. But like, if you are transparent and honest, I think it's going to be fine. And the second one is like, don't be afraid to make a mistake, and don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Because I've seen so many imposters ending up imposter because of that exact thing. Like, they feel like that they just want to stay in their comfort zone and things like that. And to me, like, you're not going to lose your job because you're doing a mistake, basically. Like, it's not going to define you as a person or as an artist or as a lead. Like, what's defining you is what you do after that mistake. So to me, it's super important as a lead or as a person in the leadership, promote the fact that it's fine to do mistakes, and it's fine to say, I don't know, just ask questions, and like, don't be afraid, like, put your ego on the side, basically.
So like to own your ownership and accountability and transparency and honesty, those are the values that you want to promote in your team. Great. Marie-Claude?
For me, it's listening to what your team has to say, because we don't know everything, and everyone has, you know, a lot of insight to give. And if they're saying or raising a red flag for a reason, there's a good reason, and you have to trust your team too. That those are you know, you achieve more in a group of people than versus alone.
Teamwork make the best work.
Exactly.
Exactly. And Christine?
Everything that everyone else has said. I think one thing I could add is building a relationship with your team, building the trust. It's an understanding between the leader and your team that we're all working together towards the same goal. And if you can build the same trust, then they can get the same confidence into you that we're all doing the same. We're all trying to achieve the same thing together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So to have goals and objectives that are passed through the team and that are communicate and through all the partners that are doing the same project as you are. So honesty, transparency, a good hear, and also to have a good trust in the members of the team. So that's what I'm retaining of this question. Christine and Marie-Claude, you both participated in the QFTC Leadership and Team Management Training Program for women artists. So can you tell me a little bit what this changed for you, and did your perspective on leadership change since you did do this program? So maybe Marie-Claude?
Yeah, it made me reflect about how you perceive things from your end or other people's end. So let's say you find that you have a problem arising that week or that day. For you, you're going to see it a specific way, or you're going to think that it's due to X, Y, Z reason. And that leadership program really taught me that you have to look through the eyes of the other person too, because maybe that person has their own problem and their own ideas of what caused that problem. And again, to be a good leader, you need to listen and ask questions. So to really reflect about the fact that maybe that person doesn't feel well today, so maybe that's why they acted so sporadically in X, Y, and Z. So we're all humans, and that showed me that, you know, there's other reasons than what you might think of.
Yeah, so the intelligence does not only come from the brain, but also from the heart.
I think, for sure.
Yeah.
We're emotional beings.
Yeah. And Christine?
For me also, it's that we all have, a lot of us meeting together, we all realize we all have the same commonality, we come across the same types of problems, and we're all, I mean, this whole group was all different positions, different management, different departments, and everyone has come across the same type of issues. So we learned a lot about each other and how we collaborate to deal with situations, and how to build our relationships with people as well.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Thank you. The question is, we know and we hear and we are telling that Montreal is one of the top 3 creative hubs in the world. And I want to know what makes Montreal so unique, so interesting in the VFX and animation industry, on your point of view. So I'm going to begin with Christine on this one.
Okay. You know what? When I first moved to Montreal, one of the differences I found with in the city is, like, the city itself is really lively in culture, and not just summertime, but year round. There's a lot of things that are going on, and I feel that it helps feed a lot into the creativity of what we do, because we are in itself like creative beings, and we kind of get our inspiration from our environment. So I feel like you get a lot of different thinking out of the box type situations just from how the environment affects us. And because Montreal has such a great diversity in that sense, I think it's so unique that way.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie?
It's exactly that I wanted to say. Yeah, I think like there's so many festivals, there's so many different cultures, and there's also a ton of like great art schools. So I think that shows and that reflects a lot in the work we're doing.
Mm-hmm. And Marie-Claude?
Also, like the openness of people. I feel like more, well, you know, all around the world. It's not just Montreal, but I feel like when you have a conversation with a group of friends, you can talk and be more open or have a conversation. Of course, there's always a general rule, like some might be more closed-minded, but there's a lot of discussion happening in Montreal or in Canada in general, and we're also close to the United States, so our cultural background with movie industry is very influenced by the States, so it's very different from Europe, let's say. But yeah, the diversity that we have in Montreal as well makes it a turning point, I think.
Yeah, thank you. And currently, like, because we're talking, yes, about leadership, but we're talking about also about women in the industry. And my next question will be a little bit will be around this subject. So we've seen that currently women represent about 1/3 of the VFX and animation industry, and about 15% are in a leadership position. So how do you think the industry could do better for attracting women in this industry? Marie-Claude?
That's a good question, because I mean, every domain can do with a bit more women as leaders. We have a different mindset. We have a different approach, I think, with leadership or with things in general. I think it's also a general, stereotypical saying. I'm saying, but I think it would benefit to just bring a balance. Everything is to have equity everywhere. I think it is the basis of, I mean, we are 50-50 women and men around the world, so why aren't we in all domains?
Mm-hmm. Stephanie?
Personally, I never had the feeling that my sex was blocking me in that industry. So I think what I would try to do is continue to showcase like men and women that are in power, and maybe like try to focus on what they have in common, like as values and also as personality traits. So like that we can actually aim a bit people towards like gaining those values and traits. To me, it's like all about education. Like there's so many people in my role that comes to me, men and women, saying like, I'm struggling to have the position I want, I'm struggling to have the salary I want, or more holidays and things like that. And it's all about helping them to build confidence, to know their worth, and also making sure that like they know how to negotiate. So to me, that's really more trying to put the emphasis on that, I think.
Mm-hmm. And Christine?
My opinion is a little different. It's I feel like as someone in the effects department, effects itself is a very male-dominated area. I think, in my perspective, our representation of women in the industry is actually happening now. Like you're seeing a lot more exposure of women building up into the leadership positions, because back then there weren't any women in leadership positions, and right now, because there are, it's getting that promotion of pushing the women up to those positions. An example is I've been the only female in my department at other companies before, and an example is also when I first became a lead, one of my male coworkers said, "Congratulations," and also, you're probably the first female lead I've ever met in effects. And at the same time, I said, I'm probably the first female lead I've ever known in effects as well, because you realize how sparse it is. And then several years later now, I'm seeing more women in effects. supervisor roles and lead roles. So it's happening now. I think we just need to kind of keep the steam going.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were. I was amazed, you know, Christine, when we had that leadership program. How many women, like you mentioned earlier, like there were so many women from different departments, and it was just so nice to be able to see so many of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with this being said, if you had one advice, one tips that you would like to give to our audience today, and maybe the young women that are listening to us, to get into those lead position or this management position, so yeah, one trick or something that you've just learned during your career and that you want to share with the audience today. Stephanie?
I think that's going back a bit to what I just said. Like, to me, know your worth is something that at the beginning I didn't know, and it's something that now, like, I know how to find what I'm worth in, like, the rest of the companies and things like that. So I think, like, what I would say is when a company approach you, or even like just go and approach other company, even if you're happy at yours, just to make sure that, like, you know your worth on the market, like, and your value, because this is going to be a super, like, helpful thing to bring back when you want to actually raise your salary or, like, change position. At least you have, like, something that you're sure, like, you can actually, like, fight against. And to me, it made me way more secure and more confident. And yeah, also making sure that, like, when you negotiate, you kind of, you know how. So don't go with, like, a set of things that you want, but more go with a set of things that you provided to the company, so that they know that, like, okay, they need to not lose you because you're really a valuable employee. And then after, you flip it to your side so that you ask what you want to stay there. But
yeah, that's a good advice. Marie-Claude?
Even if you're not sure, draw a goal, like, or draw yourself a direction. So try to see yourself, project yourself in a year, 5 years, 10 years, and just think about where you want to end up. And if you don't want to climb the ladder and don't want to have that, you know, to go, climb the ladder, it's okay. It's perfectly okay if you want that, to keep your job as is in the 10 years, and don't pressure yourself, because everyone feels pressured by it. Just know where you're comfortable and know where you want to go.
Mm-hmm. And Christine?
I'd say networking. Networking is the best way. You meet people, and people will introduce you to other people for what you're looking for. You never can meet enough people to help you get connected. I think for someone who want to go into leadership or want to venture into new challenges, asking is always the best thing, because don't wait to be discovered. Ask and get recognized, and let it be known what your goals and intentions are, and people will listen. People will listen and try to follow through for you, because that's our intention, is just to make sure everyone succeeds.
So if I wrap up this question, is know your worth, have your own goal, ask, don't be afraid to ask, to tell your intention, don't pressure yourself, and network, put yourself out there and chat with other women, men, and go around the industry and be there. So I'll get to my last question already. We know that just about any movie or TV shows has VFX and animation made in Montreal now. So what is your favorite project on which you have had the opportunity to work on in the past? And can you tell us a little bit more about what you're currently working on without spoiling anything? Stephanie?
My favorite project is the last movie I just made. So it's named Blazing Samurai, and it's like inspired by Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddle. So it's like it's really about racism and things like that. I think like the story is so powerful, and it's yet so funny because the voices is like Samuel Jackson, Michael Cera, Ricky Gervais. It's super funny. And it was just like, I don't know, the designs are great, the story was great, the clients were great, so it was so fun for everyone, and also challenging because there was like a lot of new things to do for us as a studio. So that was a highlight so far of my career. And right now we're working on a Disney TV show. So basically it's like a limited series that we're going to put on the Disney platform. And this is really cool for me because it's something that's like based on comic books from Africa. So it's like, it's super different from what we're used to. And it's also like promoting diversity. And so to me, that's super cool. I'm very, very excited. And it's also my first time in Disney, so that's cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's a great project. Marie-Claude?
I can't decide between two projects, so I have to name them both. I have my first project that I really enjoyed was working on Arrival. I was fortunate enough to being able to also work on the client side, so I kind of felt attached to it, and it kind of showed me the client side and being also now in the studio side, so that those it's just dear to my heart. And then the second project I really loved working on was Billie Holiday versus the United States of America. So it was a really beautiful story, and Lee Daniels, directed it beautifully, and it was the biggest project that we had at Alchemy and that I've had in my career so far in terms of VFX, and it was just so challenging. And like Steph said, I think like the ones that are most challenging or that take you outside of your box are the most favorite one, my personal favorites. So yeah, it took me outside of my box. And I'm currently working on, I think, 7 or 8 projects. So, I mean, I could name them all, but it'd be a bit long. But the main 2 ones are we're working on Transplant Season 2, so it's a Canadian TV series. And we're also working on an HBO TV series as well called Tokyo Vice. So those are the 2 main ones currently ongoing, and the really beautiful TV series.
Can't wait to see them.
Yeah.
Christine?
I'd say probably one of the more exciting ones I've worked on is F9, partly because I got into that Fast and Furious series when I was really young. So to be like able to work on something that I follow, it's just really crazy car tricks and whatnot. That's the excitement of it. It was great. It's like just being able to take on a lot of large work, and then also the team has been amazing as well. I can't really disclose what I'm currently working on now, but the last one I had finished, just got released recently. Venom, Let There Be Carnage. So a lot of gory monster stuff.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it myself, but I know it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's cool. So this is the end, ladies. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your experience and your vision of the industry, which is most inspiring. And I hope that your story inspired others and all the audience that we have today. Thanks to the Campus Party for having us, and also thanks to you all campusers to have been here with us today. So for more details on our different projects, I invite you to follow us on our website, the VFX-Montreal.com. And I'm Valérie Daignault, and thank you for being with us today. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.